Namaste. Welcome to the this important panel discussion organized by Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America. I'm your host, Jay Bansal. I serve as the Vice President of Education and Awareness. Today, we have assembled a very special panel to discuss an important topic. Mr. Zohran Mamdani, one of the mayoral candidates for New York City, and his deeply polarizing rhetoric against a number of communities, especially Hindus and Jews. Before I introduce the panel, let me finish framing today's topic. So, first of all, let me say this. Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America is a 501c3 nonprofit organization committed to promoting Hindu heritage and community welfare. We do not endorse or oppose any political ideology or candidate. As a nonpartisan organization, we do not comment on electoral politics. Our primary concern is the safety, dignity, and well being of the Hindu community in the United States, particularly here in New York City. Now, recent developments surrounding Mr. Mamdani have raised alarm across multiple communities. He presents himself as a progressive, but his record includes deeply polarizing rhetoric, particularly targeting Hindus and Jews. So let me briefly outline some of the concerns that Mr. Mamdani's public record actually shows. His campaign has been divisive, driven by class conflict and identity politics and ideological zeal. Mr. Mamdani harshly criticizes other faiths while shielding Islam, often blending Islamic leanings with Marxist ideology. At a 2020 protest, he refused to denounce anti-Hindu slurs and instead attacked the Ram Mandir project. He has also made inflammatory claims about India, accusing Hindus of wiping out Gujarati Muslims, echoing narratives used by Pakistan. His promotion of slogans like globalizing the Intifada has alarmed Jewish communities. Most troubling, he repeatedly injects foreign conflicts like India-Pakistan, Kashmir, and Palestine into New York City politics, risking communal tension in an already diverse and sensitive civic landscape. Today, we gather to assess the implications of this rhetoric on social harmony and community safety. To that end, we have organized this very special panel. Let me introduce each one of our eminent panelists, and you will see why their views are extremely relevant to today's topic. So first of all, Arshia Malik ji, a very warm welcome to you. Arshia ji is a Delhi-based writer and commentator. She hails from Kashmir and is known for her work on Muslim women's issues and conflict zones like Kashmir. She contributes to outlets like Swaraj, News 18, and First Post, offering sharp insights on Sharia, Islam, and Indian subcontinent. She also curates progressive heretic literature from Muslim voices. So once again, Arshia ji, it's great to see you. Very warm welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Next, Arif Aajakia ji. Arif ji was born in Pakistan in a traditional Muslim family, and has ancestral roots in Gujarat, India. He is the former mayor of Jamshed Town, a suburb of Karachi. He currently lives in the United Kingdom. He is best known as a passionate human rights activist, and in 2022, he embraced Sanatan Dharma through Ghar Wapsi and actively shares his views via his popular YouTube channel. Arif ji, once again, a very warm welcome. Great to see you again.
Namaskar and thank you, Jay bhai.
Then we have Omer Ghazi ji. He's a writer on history, culture, and geopolitics. He's also a research associate at a public policy think tank. He represented India at the Best Diplomats Dubai Conference 2023. His book, The Cosmic Dance, explores the fusion of modern science and ancient Indian philosophy. So, with that, Omarji, a warm welcome to you as well. And thank you for being here, all three of you. Mamdani claims not many Muslims are left in Gujarat, implying ethnic cleansing. So, Arifji, since you recently visited Bharat and particularly your ancestral region, Gujarat, and I know you interacted with a lot of people there, I think you should have the first-hand knowledge about the Muslims of Gujarat. So, I'm just wondering, how do you respond to an irresponsible statement like this?
Well, thank you very much, Jay Bhai. First of all, Mamdani says that Modi killed all Muslims in Gujarat. While ground reality is that in 2001, Muslims were 9.1% of Gujarat population. In 2011, Muslims were 9.7%. And in 10 years, 2001 to 2011, 1 million Muslims were added in Gujarat. So such a liar. And I don't know why nobody is demanding an apology from him. Because a candidate for mayor of world's most powerful city and speaking like this, my personal experience is that I went to my ancestral village and I found many Muslims there. While my parents said that when in 1947 there were riots, all the Muslims left our village. So I asked those Muslims, I said that how come you are here and you did not go to Pakistan? He said, well, it was a fear and publicity was going on that all Muslims will be killed and this. So many people ran away. We did not. I said, so what happened after 47 till now? He said, we are living a very lavish life and we never had any problem. And I went to Ahmedabad, Porbandar, Rajkot, many places in Gujarat because it was my ancestral place. So, and I found many Muslims there and they were very happily living in Gujarat. And they said that we have more than equal rights because we have rights of minority also, which should not be because India is a secular country. So why India has minority, majority? So coming again to Gujarat, Muslims are living very happily there, and Mamdani is a liar, nothing else. I will just add one thing that this comes from family. Mamdani's father, Mahmud Mamdani, wrote a book, Good Muslims, Bad Muslims, in 2002, 2004. And there he said that Islamic extremism is a result of Western countries. The terrorism is because of the policies of Europe and America. And these kind of statements he is giving, I know that what a Muslim mayor can bring in because I live in London and we have a mayor, Sadiq Khan, who won third time here. And I saw destruction of London by my eyes. I live here since last 13, 14 years. And I've seen that what London was when I came here and what London is today.
Thank you, Arif. Omarji, I understand you have recently written an article on this subject. So I wonder if you could share some thoughts from your perspective on this.
No, absolutely. When I heard that statement, this actually infuriated me for multiple reasons. Number one, it is a complete lie, as Arif Aajakia ji also said. The population of Gujarati Muslims is around 6-7 million, right? Around 6 million or 5.5, 6 million. And the population of Muslims in United States is around 3 to 4 million. So Gujarat has more Muslims, as double the number of Muslims than the whole of United States, right? These are hard facts. This is not my opinion.
Sure.
Now, this person who is fighting to be the mayor is only for his own political gains, completely writing off and denying the existence of the whole of Gujarati Muslim community. It is an insult. Obviously, it is an attack on Narendra Modi, the PM Modi, it is an attack on the Hindus of Gujarat. Obviously, it is reprehensible. But I'm coming from a different angle. It is an absolute insult of those Muslims also who are living happy lives in Gujarat. These 5.5, 6 million Muslims who are prosperous, I know many of them personally, who have all the equal rights that anyone can have in a secular democratic country. And their population, as Arifji said, is only increasing. That can only happen in a prosperous place where you have equal rights. So you are, for your political gains, you are such a cunning politician. You are so treacherous and morally corrupt that for your own gain, you will completely deny the existence of these Muslims, that there is no Gujarati Muslim. And let me quote him. He said, when I tell people that I'm a Gujarati Muslim, they are surprised. How is that so? Because Muslims are completely wiped off to the point that even I'm an exotic character, that somebody looks at me and they say, how is that so that you are a Gujarati Muslim? All of them are finished. These are his actual words, his actual quote. So this shows that this is not only exaggeration, this is a complete lie. And he belongs to that political class for whom there are only two problems in the world: Hindus and Jews. There is no third problem in the world. It is that political class. They refuse to look at any other lens of looking at the world. I'm absolutely infuriated and frustrated and angry with the kind of language that he used against the Hindus of Gujarat as well as the Muslims of Gujarat.
Thank you for bringing that angle into the conversation, Omerji. Arshia ji, some of this rhetoric started from the 2002 events, as you know, and I'm sure you're familiar with all that history and the subsequent investigations and what Supreme Court said and so on and so forth. I wonder if you want to shed some light on that, that journey, that 25 years of.
As this discussion was going on, for me, since I document the narrative coming out from Kashmir, which till up to recently was a conflict zone, this Muslim persecution in India is a much pushed narrative. And unfortunately, it gets amplified. It's been amplified since 1990s, since the proxy war by Pakistan started in Kashmir. We grew up in this narrative. Some of us escaped this narrative because, we were using our faculties, we had critical thinking, and we had very progressive families also. Mamdani, for me, is just an extension of this narrative, funded by the same forces that also funded this India occupies Kashmir narrative, And again, as a pushback, as a person who pushes back against this narrative, as a reformer for Islam and all, my debates with these people is always that why is there always a conflation of events? Arif said that Mamdani has been, or Mamdani's father wrote a book where he says that Muslim extremism is because of Western. Yes. We have had our towering secularist from Maharashtra, Hamid Alwai, who explicitly proved it that, this Hindu communalism, what you call these days, is basically a reaction to Muslim communalism, because the majority Hindus had no other option. And this is something I keep repeating on platforms also. Secondly, people forget the fact that, again, the Gujarat riots, which did unfortunately see a lot of Muslims being killed, they were again a reaction to the Godhra incident, which people forget, that Hindus were burnt alive, not just murdered, but burnt alive. And there were women and children. So Mamdani is basically a part of that whole machinery, which is, as Umar said, Hindus are the problem, Jews are the problem, this anti-Hindu, anti-Semitic machinery. And Mamdani fits into that. So for me, it was very predictable that, a person got up and he actually got elected on this rhetoric, which was an outright lie, as, Arif ji and Umar proved. Jai Bansalji, that's the thing. I hope your platform is, able to amplify that people need to get into the nuances of things and not just go by rhetoric itself.
One of the other things he talks about is Hindus as fascists. Uh, so conflating the political identity with extremism. Uh, I'll put this question to all three of you, and whosoever wants to go first, please go ahead. I mean, why is it that every time Hindus want to express pride in their civilization, or participate in politics, or celebrate their festivals, they are painted as fascists, but other communities are not. What's going on here? What kind of mindset is this?
Arif, you want to go first?
Arif, you're on mute, so please unmute yourself. You have to unmute yourself, Arif.
Actually, the fascism. What is fascism? Fascism is not accepting others equal to you. Fascism is grading others as a slave, giving them a very lower life. This is teaching of Muslims. In Hinduism, there is nothing like this. So calling Hindus fascist is the biggest lie. I will not call it even lie. So it is propaganda, and he has no argument on it. If he has any argument that where Hindus have shown fascism, just if he can give any example. In India, Muslims are enjoying their rights, their equal rights, often more rights than Hindus, like Waqf board, Muslim personal board. They don't exist in West, which is secular, which has secularism, but in India they are. So I don't think that even replying to his allegation of fascism on Hindus is waste of time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Adding on to that, I think if Hindus of India are fascist, they are the weakest fascist in history. If that can be called fascism, that is a mockery of fascism. Also, that's not done right, and not being done in the right way. How fascism is done. The problem is there is a problem with the definitions. Fascism basically means denying people their basic rights under constitution, right? Now, in today's scenario, there is a conversation around Hindu communalism as a reaction to Muslim communalism, as Arshia ji said. And okay, you can have that conversation that there are some people who might be at certain powerful positions who might have some apprehensive views against Muslims. That is one conversation, that there are certain people in certain positions. We are willing to have that conversation. That is possible. But to say that fascism is systemic, fascist is not a person. A person cannot be fascist. A fascism is a system of government. To be very pedantic about it. So in India, even today, the left has written off India as a fascist country completely already. But even in today's times, if you see, the minority does not have just equal rights, but as RFG said, a little more rights than the majority. I'll give you a very simple example. A Hindu living in India cannot follow his religion in at least civil manners, in civil law. He cannot, right? His law is completely codified in 1950s. But a Muslim can bypass the whole judicial system of India, complete judicial system of India, and make a mockery of the judiciary and conduct his affairs at the whims and fantasies of his own faith and religion, right? He has that freedom. Does a Hindu have that right in India? No, but a Muslim does. So he, in addition to having the same rights as Muslims, a Muslim has a more right to practice his faith in India. That is one. Now, RFG mentioned Waqf bill, which is a very interesting, it reminded me of a very interesting and funny thing that, yes, many secular countries in the West do not have the concept of Waqf land, obviously. And India being a secular country should not have Waqf as well. But the funny thing is that the Muslim countries like UAE and all also do not have Waqf, right? Can Muslims in large numbers own a large amount of land in UAE, being a Muslim country, and call it Waqf and do whatever they want with it? open whatever madrasa and do their own thing, even bypassing the whole of state machinery, teach the kids whatever they want and keep them away from scientific education. Can Muslims do that in UAE? In UAE, you can't even celebrate Bakra Eid and sacrifice your animal on the street. They'll put you in the jail and you'll be disappeared. You'll never be seen, heard from again. If you try to practice your faith in countries like Saudi Arabia and UAE, even today, even though they are very liberal countries, and I love UAE, I love Saudi Arabia of today, but I'm saying that if you try to practice your faith with so much openness that you do in India, you will never be heard from again. You will disappear from the face of the earth if you sacrifice one animal or if you try to have Waqf land in Saudi Arabia and UAE. So let's not go into this, forgive me the language, this garbage of saying that Muslims are living under fascism in India and they don't have equal rights, because you have more rights and you should be thankful. And if you're not thankful, then slowly those rights will be eroded and only you will be responsible for it.
Thank you. Thank you, Omerji. I think what you're saying is if Hindus are fascists, they are so inept, they don't even know how to practice it properly.
No, no, they don't.
Thank you. Arshia, do
May
you want to
I
have?
add to this? Yes. For me, it's actually very amusing when practicing Muslims or people who identify themselves as Muslims, start accusing other religions of fascism. I document heretics, from all across the world, different continents, different countries. And since, the inception of Islam, there have been heretics, there have been dissenters, there have been apostates in Islam as well. It's
Mhm.
very amusing. It's bordering on the absurd that any Muslim starts accusing somebody of intolerance. They need to look inside themselves. You don't even tolerate your heretics. You don't even tolerate your dissenters. You don't even tolerate practicing Muslims who might be from some other sect. For example, the Ahmadis, right? They are kind of, dissenting. So for to tell to label Hindus as fascists who even accept practicing Muslims as one of their own, they say it's a different approach to God as far as the discussions I have with Hindus. So it's really an absurd thing that in today's time, people with so much technology and so much awareness and so much of, media representation, uh, do not understand this hypocrisy coming from Muslims. And Mamdani should have been called out on this long ago. But
Yeah,
it's easy to label Hindus again because of their tolerance. It's quite easy, like, Umar just said, and you've also understood that Hindus probably are the most weakest fascists since they don't know how to subjugate a particular community.
exactly.
Arifji
Jay
is
bhai,
right. It's all propaganda. It's absolute propaganda, and it's been there for decades. Yes, Arifji, go ahead.
sorry, Jay bhai, I want to add two more things.
Sure.
When I moved to Europe, to Belgium in 1990, and I was living in asylum center, and I had a clash with their social worker, a lady, blonde lady. And I came from Pakistan, so I did not know what actually fascism or fascist means. And I called her fascist. And she said that, look, you are new. So I'm informing that in Belgium, calling someone fascist without proof is a crime. But I'm
Hmm.
letting you. I'm surprised a candidate of New York mayor is putting this allegation without any persecution. Second thing is that if you go to find fascism in today's world, you will find fascism flourishing in Pakistan, where minorities have no rights at all. In Afghanistan, in Syria, what is happening to Druze and Christians today. So, fascism is practiced by only Muslims, no one else.
No,
Thank you.
I will also quickly add on the same note of fascism that, uh, for example, in Shivratri days,
Mhm.
a lot of Hindus do not eat meat, right? And
Hmm.
imagine in India where it is illegal for anyone to publicly eat non-veg during these days. Can you imagine in India like that? Is it possible? But let me tell you a few countries, Jordan, Morocco, Kuwait, Qatar, Afghanistan, and some states of Malaysia, and a few more countries. It is illegal to publicly eat during the month of Ramadan. Whether you have fasting or not fasting, you can be a tourist for all they care. You will be prosecuted under law. Under law. if you are publicly eating during Ramadan. So yeah, let's not talk about fascism, right? Let's not discuss fascism then, if that is the case.
Thank you.
Ye-
Thank you. Yeah.
yesterday here in ISKCON Mandir takeaway, a man went and he said, "You are vegetarian?" They said, "Yes." So he took out a chicken of KFC and he started eating. So I
Yeah.
was talking to a Muslim friend and he said that, "So what's wrong in it?" I said, "Okay, let's buy some pork and go to mosque and eat there."
Exactly. You respect, then you beget respect in return.
Exactly. Islamophobia. Um, I understand. You want to protect the community against hatred. I think that's very valid. However, when you weaponize it to kind of shut down any relevant criticism, whether it's of Islamic extremism or anti-Hindu hate or any internal problems within the Muslim community, um, how do you see that? What's your perspective on how Islamophobia is being used today to shut down, criticism of just about anything Islamic?
JJ, I will go first on this because I have written extensively on this. First of all, I need to correct you. The correct term should have been Muslim phobia or
Okay.
anti-Muslim bigotry.
Okay.
Islamophobia is a term coined by the Muslim Brotherhood, and the
Okay.
purpose was to stifle, uh, internal dissent. It's basically
Hmm.
to stifle Muslims themselves, first of all, who start criticizing their own faith. And then, of course, it's become very easy to, shut down debate from any non Muslim also. So, this is the first
Hmm.
thing. Yes,
Hmm.
there is anti Muslim bigotry, especially after 9/11. There have been incidents of hate and
Hmm.
communal hatred. But, like we said earlier in the discussion, any kind of communalism coming from other religions is basically a reaction to Muslim extremism. So, this is something Muslims will have to accept. There are 56 plus Muslim majority countries.
Hmm.
Every single one of them has an extremism problem. If you take up the African nations, you have Boko Haram and other AKP. This their manifesto is very very similar to Hamas in Israel Palestine. Their
Hmm.
manifesto is very very similar to the TRF in Kashmir,
Hmm.
right? Or
Hmm.
very similar to ISIS. How is it possible that across continents and across countries, these terror groups have the same kind of thinking and ideology and manifesto, unless there's something terribly wrong with the theology? Right? So the Muslim Brotherhood, since it was banned in Egypt and Said Qutb actually died in prison, they
Yes.
shifted to the West. And of course, West is the target. So they came up with this term called, Islamophobia. And anybody who even has the gumption or the courage to say that, look, Sharia law is misogynistic, or, you have this hypocritic attitude towards non-Muslims, they immediately label you Islamophobic. This
Hmm.
is similar to what Great Britain or any Western country faces because of their past history with Germany. People are like you had the Pakistan Grumi gangs. Arifji can tell you in detail. They
Hmm.
they took so much time to start persecution, despite knowing that it was being done by Pakistani men, because they were so afraid. The authorities, the police, were so afraid of being called racist.
Sure.
Right? So this is what the term is being used for. And people like Mamdani are going to weaponize this further. Over
Thanks.
to you. Yes.
Anyone else has a view on this?
Yeah, I think very quickly, because this term irritates me a lot. It's a very irritating and frustrating term, number for first of all. And there is also, it's a mind game. It's a tactic. How, for example, there is a writer, an academic, who is very respectfully writing a critique of some tenet of the faith of Islam. Very respectfully, he's a scholar, and there are scholars who write on the tenets of Hinduism, some practices within Hinduism or Christianity or Judaism. It's a very common academic principle that you write. Now, once you write that, then the response from the community would come that the faith is perfect, but the problem is with the people, right? You don't go on the faith. The problem is within the people. So the scholar is like, okay, I accept my mistake. I'm sorry. The faith is okay, but I think the problem is within the Muslim people. So then it becomes anti-Muslim bigotry, right? So it's
Mm.
heads you win,
Yeah.
tails I lose, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You are deflecting the blame from the faith to people, and then from people to faith, faith to people.
People.
It's a game. It's a video game that you're playing. Uh, Either way, you have to relent. Either you accept that there is some problem with the, because there is some problem, right? There is some problem that you have to accept. Given the from Hamas charter to Africa, Boko Haram and Syria and everything. So obviously there is some problem. So okay, let's very respectfully have a conversation. But where is the problem? But once you go on the faith, then they deflect you to people. You go on the people, then it becomes Muslim anti-Muslim bigotry. There is no rational conversation that is taking place, and that term Islamophobia is actually redundant. It's misleading, and I think we should do away with it completely. And it's a favorite of the left because they want to feel good about themselves,
Yeah.
apparently, because they have few things to feel good about themselves, so they need something like this. But it's an irritating term, and I don't think it even means anything. It's meaningless. Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
can
Yeah,
illustrate what Umar said by a personal example. In 2016, I wrote an article on the hijab, how hijab came to happen in Kashmir, and this was
Mm.
incidentally published in the nation Pakistan, right? Now it went viral. And the first labels that I started getting from Kashmir itself and Pakistan also, that I am Islamophobic. I said, I cannot technically be Islamophobic. I happen to be a Muslim. And this hijab was enforced on us through coercion. There were women who were acid attacked, they were kneecapped for not wearing the hijab. And I, somebody who's from the same faith, if I am protesting against this coercion, then I am validly am phobic of Islam, right? So
Yeah.
this term should fit me, but then it is misleading. So as Umar said, any kind of criticism, even somebody who wants to respectfully, do some kind of critical thinking, as it is, as happens in civilizations and cultures, and Hinduism has an excellent tradition of debate and discussions and disagreements, but quite tolerable. And this is something Muslims have not learned. So, very
Yeah.
right. I gave you a personal example. Yes, Arifji, you want to say something?
I
Please.
totally agreed, Arshia ji. It is used as a weapon. If I tell to Jay Bhai that Quran says that kill non-Muslims wherever you find them, it is true, but it will be Islamophobic. You cannot even tell the truth. If there is a phobia existing today, it is Hinduphobia, Jews phobia, practiced by Muslims.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Nupur Sharma is a good example of what you just said. Unfortunately, she's a living example of that. There's so many different strands came through this conversation that we could probably, take this discussion in so many different directions. But I think we will try to stick with the Mamdani theme for today. So one of the things that we see is the radicalization of diaspora, particularly young people, against India and Hindus. This is happening a lot in the West. These are people who are far removed from India, and yet this narrative of Hindu supremacy or caste, genocide and Islamophobic India, keep coming through. So, what is the responsibility of rooted, grounded Muslims to counter this intellectual radicalization? And Omarji, since we're talking about a young segment of the society, I'll invite you first to start this conversation.
No, young Muslims should start using their own mind. I think it starts simply there. You need to think for yourself, basically. And okay, the problem that they face is that once they uh, you know go away from the clutches of the clerics, from the mullah. They go into the lap of these leftist Marxist thinkers. Now, there is the catch. The shift from Zakir Naik to Arundhati Roy is not progress. You're basically on the same plane. You have just
Yeah.
shifted, you have just slightly shifted from one because you're still anti-Hindu, right? You are still Muslim victimhood melodrama. You are still anti-Semitic. You are still hating the very foundation of the ethos of Indic civilization. What has changed? Maybe in personal life you stopped offering namaz. Maybe you stopped. Maybe you started going to some clubs. Whatever. That is your personal choice. But your political positions have remained the same. So do not fool yourself into believing that you have become progressive because you read Arundhati Roy or because you go to a queer pride parade, suddenly you have become very progressive. No, you are still on the same plane. You are part of the same toxic cocktail of Islamism and Marxism. So you let's not fool yourself. And young Muslims, especially young people in their teenage and early 20s, are the prime candidates for this kind of misdirection, because they read some books and they go to some Marxist conversations and discussions where Hegel and Marx are being discussed and postmodernist theories are being discussed, and they think I'm speaking good English, so suddenly I'm become progressive. No, Zohran Mamdani is no worse than, for example, some Hamas leader. I don't see a lot of difference, because if you are saying kill the Jews and then you are saying globalize the intifada, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Using the word globalize, it's good English, but it's basically saying the very same thing. So good English does not make you progressive, right? So this needs to be dismantled at the very foundation. Just because you're speaking good English and you're going to pride parades and dancing with these drag queens, you are suddenly very progressive. That is not the case. So your positions vis-a-vis Hindus should change. Your positions vis-a-vis Jews should change. Your positions vis-a-vis the capitalists, the rich people, because they are making a good name for themselves. You should start considering your economics. You should start considering. So this is what the young people should basically do. Start thinking for yourself and get out of this nexus, this unholy, unorthodox nexus of Islamism and Marxism. That they should do. Otherwise, there is no redemption.
And they should
Thank you.
start reading Asra Nomani's book,
Hmm.
the Red Green Alliance. She has actually mapped out this network, which could explain to you why diaspora Muslims actually start, parroting these fascists, these terms. Uh, it's a whole network. Like, I believe Harsh Mandar, and we have this George Soros thing, Hindus for Human Rights. These are all part of it. She's mapped it out. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, American universities are the breeding grounds for this, what you today
Hmm.
call
Hmm.
wokeism,
Yeah.
right?
That's
So
true.
Mamdani is basically, the product of all that network funded
Mm,
since decades. So that's why I
mm,
said it was very predictable for somebody like Mamdani to come to New York, be elected there. The youngsters, as Omar said, they should start using their critical faculties, but first of all, they should start understanding that there is this whole nexus, this alliance between Islamists and leftists. Both have the same agenda, dismantling. Leftists want to dismantle the authoritarianism, and
Hmm.
capitalism and everything. And Islamists want to not only dismantle Western societies, liberal societies. In the end, they will also eventually come for the leftists also. The prime example being Iran, eventually
Yeah.
1979. Once Khomeini was successful, the first people he killed was the leftists. So this is
yeah.
what
Yeah.
youngsters need to. RFG might have more experience, and he might want to elaborate more.
Well, I was mayor, so I know better that what a mayor has to do. When I was elected mayor, I asked my seniors in party that what is difference between a member of parliament and a mayor. And he said that mayor is the only elected person who builds society and community because he is directly connected to the people. So mayor has responsibility of making roads, street lights, parks, this, that, but building a community. Building a prosperous community is biggest job of a mayor. So how can Mamdani build a community when he hates Hindus, Jews, and non-Muslims? So he totally, irrespective of religion, this, that, his belief of hating certain communities does not qualify him to become a mayor. Mayor builds the community and society, and you cannot build a community and society when you hate a significant part of your society and your community. So, of course, here is the problem. For example, in London, forget about what Sadiq Khan is doing for Muslims and against other, but London transport system totally destroyed. Totally. Since 2 days, there were no trains all weekend. My daughter had to go to central London. There were no trains. Transport system failed. We used to pay £99 council tax. Today we are paying £299. Three times. Life is destroyed by Sadiq Khan. So if a clown is made mayor, it will become a circus.
Here is a fun
Hey,
fact, Jay Bansalji.
hey,
Mamdani has been elected as mayor for New York, and Arifji just described Sadiq Khan's London. We
yeah.
had a former mayor of Srinagar city, Junaid Azim Mattu. There is
Mm,
no difference between the three of them. And it is not a coincidence only that all three belong to, they are closet, what you would call Islamists. They hide
mm,
behind progressive liberal rhetoric. In fact, Junaid Azim Mattu was foisted on us, progressive Kashmiris, as a progressive leader by the government of India. But if you see his posts, any sane person keeps asking us how was he selected as the mayor of Srinagar city, right?
sure.
Misogynistic views, absolutely anti-Pandit rhetoric, but then he cloaks it into, progressive
Mm,
liberal rhetoric, blaming them for the exodus, blaming them for being ethnically cleansed from Kashmir. So, like I said, it's a fun fact, all three mayors, one former mayor, very common. The whole personality
yeah.
and perspective is common. Yes.
So thank you all three of you on enlightening me on this unholy nexus between totally unexpected partners. I mean, Islam and leftist Marxist woke ideology as bad partners is just, I mean, totally unimaginable. But it looks like it's a partnership of convenience, and once they win over the world, they will eat each other out. Um, Very interesting. Um,
The leftists are basically useful idiots. They just think that they have partnered up with the Islamists. They
yeah,
actually don't know the nature of Islamists. They don't know how Islamists bide their time. I talked about Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. They actually bide their time. They were
yeah,
waiting and waiting in the wings in the West, and
mm,
eventually today you have them as elected mayors of New York City. So the
yeah,
leftists have a very, very limited view of Islamists. They think that they're going to be allies forever. They are not. They are
yeah,
being made useful idiots. And we have a whole
uh,
lot of them in India as well. Right,
yeah,
Umang?
yeah.
Funny thing is that they both look at each other as useful idiots.
That's
That
what
is the funny
I was
thing.
gonna say that. I was gonna
They
say that.
both look at each other as useful idiots, and it's a partnership of convenience. Yeah.
What Hindus have been called by various people, including Mamdani. I mean, he's called us fascists. He's also called us Nazis. Hinduism as Nazism. So I don't want to, repeat the same script, but I think progressive Muslims like Arif is not a Muslim now, but all three of you are progressive, ideology people, intellectuals. What how would you what would you advise us to do? What would you do to try and counter this kind of nonsensical narrative?
Arshia ji,
Some
I
Yeah,
think the
Arshia
first
ji.
thing to start putting it out there is if they call Hindus Nazis, they need to get into the history of how the Grand Muftis actually collaborated with the actual Nazis. That's the real history. And Nazism is just a term being thrown around. It's very convenient to call somebody Nazi, and
Yeah,
Europe is very
yeah,
sensitive about the word. Like I said, they don't want to be known as racists. That is why there is this hesitation to, call out Muslims openly, even when they see that they are getting away with crimes and everything. So,
yeah,
it's weaponized these days. You call somebody a Nazi, and immediately, there's this backpedaling ki, no, no, I didn't mean this. I didn't want to do this.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but then the history of Muslims themselves collaborating with the Nazis is something which has been covert. It's not out there in the history books. And because of the network and the nexus that they have, very funded, I don't think in the near future it is ever going to be mentioned in history books. Had we not had the internet, had we not had YouTube, had we not had, X now, we would not have come to know about these incidents. I mean, I was shocked to see that photograph of the Grand Mufti of Palestine who
Yeah,
had shaken hands with Hitler himself and Goebbels himself. So, what about that? That would be the first thing that you should throw out there. Yes.
absolutely. Any other perspective before we move on to the
Yeah,
next?
I think someone who refuses to denounce a genocidal statement like globalize the intifada against Jews, who has a genocidal hatred against Jews himself, should think at least 10 times before calling anyone a Nazi. That is the paradox. He himself is a genocidal hater against Jews, which is a textbook definition of Nazism. And then he has the audacity, the cheek to call someone else a Nazi. This is the kind of world we are living in, basically. So he doesn't get to call. And I don't think it warrants even a reaction, to be honest, from the Hindu community, because it's so uh, bizarre and petty and unfounded that it doesn't even warrant a reaction. It's like gibberish. It's like white noise coming from that guy. It doesn't make sense.
Sure, sure.
Yeah,
Good.
Jay bhai, I think that awareness is the most important thing. Awareness should be brought. There should be programs in New York, comparative study of London as a test
Mm,
case before
mm.
Sadiq Khan and London of after Sadiq Khan, and these kind of things to make New York people think that yes, Mamdani is not suitable for the job.
I think tailor made for Arshia ji and Omar ji. You represent the progressive wing of Indian Muslim community. Um, Arif, you can also chime in, but since they're Indian Muslims and that progressive representation, I know you're doing a lot to break this myth of Hindus being the oppressors and Nazis and so on and so forth. So here's an opportunity for you to tell us, the things that you're doing, the kind of narratives that you are putting out there, and what you're doing to build bridges with the Hindu community and break these false narratives.
Arshia ji.
There are two approaches to my work. First of
Mm,
all, was the pushback narrative that had to be built. It started from
mm,
Kashmir and then it
mm,
enveloped the whole country.
mm,
And what the Western media does, which is very biased towards Hindus and India,
mm,
they tie up with the leftists in India as well, or
mm,
what you would say the anti-nationals, as we call them.
mm,
And this gives a lot of boost to the narrative of Muslim persecution in India, India being the occupier, and Hindus being intolerant and fascist and Nazis. So, my approach is first of all to debunk that.
mm,
Unfortunately, in India, we also have a gang of what you would call fact checkers, which slowly, as is being confirmed, they are being funded again from the West.
mm,
The whole purpose is this is a geopolitical perspective. The whole purpose is to keep India down somehow,
mm,
right? and the 200 million Indian Muslim population is to be used as a weapon. That's why this narrative is put out there, so that they keep thinking that they are victims and they are being persecuted in their own country. Whereas we proved in the discussion, as Umar said, that, we have more rights than the Hindus as well. So that's the approach. That's what the approach has been. That counter the fact checkers, counter these. I call them the agenda activists. Some names are out there. Zubair is there. Arfa Khanam Sherwani is there. I think she's doing some course now in. She's got a scholarship or something to Cambridge or something, and they will try their best to keep this Muslim persecution in India story alive. And that's where people like me and Umar come in. We constantly do it on X, we
Yes,
constantly
of course.
debunk them, we counter them. We are making the Hindus aware that, this is a perspective you need to know, because only a Muslim from inside the faith can tell that this is a lie, this is not how it is, this is the perspective. And then, of course, we also push back against the Western media, which keeps giving us these false statistics and false narratives of, like Mamdani did, that there are hardly any Muslims in Gujarat. So a two-point approach, basically, pushing back against the narrative and taming our own agenda activists. And this is something the government was supposed to, but then, India has to live up to the name of being a liberal democracy.
Yeah.
We don't have repression of media here. We don't do what Turkey does. Turkey has the most number of journalists in jail. We don't do what Russia does. We do not do what China does. They have just China has modern day concentration camps, right, where the Uyghur Muslim population is radicalized in a horrible way. I mean, the stories coming out of them, we have never seen Muslims, all these agenda activists who profess to represent us Muslims, we have never seen them protest against the Chinese. So, that's where it shows that the selective outrage, where you only talk about the Muslims of Gujarat, or you talk about Kashmir, or you talk about Palestine. I mean, there is actual persecution of Muslims going on in China. What about that? Right? So,
Sure.
it's been my two-point approach, but I'm sure Umar can elaborate more on what all we should do. Yes, Umar?
Yes, I also go by a two-point approach as well. And the first approach that I take, and for this leftists can't stand me, is that I refuse to call myself a victim. I have never called myself a victim, and I will never call myself a victim. And for some reason, leftists can't stand it. And it's not just my opinion; it's just not true, and I can objectively prove it. If you just forget the barbarism of the invaders, okay, let's not go 500 years into the past. Let's take the partition. Let's take the independence struggle, right? Majority of the Muslims of undivided India actually voted for Pakistan, right? And a lot of them did not go out of convenience. They stayed back and then they pretended it didn't happen. But it doesn't change the fact that most of them who stayed back actually voted for Pakistan, for Muslim League, right? Otherwise, Pakistan would not have become a reality.
Sure.
You do that, then after that you pretend that you did not vote for Pakistan. Then the Hindu code is codified, but the Muslim code is left. You practically carve out a small Pakistan within India. Effectively, it is a small Pakistan within India, right? Especially looking at the judicial framework. Then Shah Banu happens. Shah Banu, you arm twist the whole of judiciary of Indian judiciary into doing your bidding. That much power you have as a community, right? Then after that, this whole narrative of this minority welfare schemes, this whole minority character of AMU, minority institutions, minority this. There is a whole damn minority my ministry taking care of ministry of minority welfare, right? All that is happening. You have the Waqf board that is actually you are governing it. Government is paying salaries to imams of the mosque and muezzins. Can you believe that? Can you believe government is paying salaries? There are madrasas that the government is funding, and the temples are under. Yeah.
Plus Hajj subsidies.
Hajj subsidy. Yeah, Hajj subsidy. It is, so for a long time, Hajj subsidy was there. No, my problem is, what do you want? What else do you want from a community that has a history of being persecuted by you also? So then you are calling yourself a victim today that is morally corrupt and completely treacherous. So I completely refuse to call myself a victim, and the Muslim community is not a victim in India. Number one. Number two, the problem with the Indian Muslim community is there is an identity crisis, right? What
Yeah.
am I? And this is a very fundamental question. This is a very fundamental inquiry in philosophy and spirituality also. Who am I? Right? Hindu philosophy also talks about it. Who am
Sure.
I? What am I? So when you ask this question, you you don't identify with Indian civilization. You don't accept that your forefathers were Hindus, even though you
Sure.
look like your Hindu neighbor, right? And then you try to identify with Turkey, you try to identify with Saudi Arabia, you try to identify with some other Afghanistan or something, but you don't look like them, you don't speak their language. So if you're neither Indian properly, and you're neither a Turkey or Turkish or Saudi or Afghan or whatever, then what are you? And this pains you. This frustrates you, and then you go into radicalism. Then you try to identify with some global Muslim brotherhood. I have a simple approach. I do not identify with the invaders. Babur, Aurangzeb, I have nothing to do with them. Why? Because either I have to be their descendant. Am I their descendant? No. I don't have Turkish blood in my veins. I don't have Uzbek blood in my veins. I have Indian blood, number one. And do I follow their ideology? Do I follow Aurangzeb's ideology? Do I like Babur's ideology? No. And I can't because Babur hated Indians. Babur said they are ugly people. They
I
don't have
know.
any taste or culture. So Babur
Yeah.
hated me. Babur hated me. So I can't identify with Babur's ideology. Whom I can identify with is this beautiful culture. There is a rich culture of music, there is a rich culture of philosophy, there is a rich culture of arts, and I'm a musician also, so I can identify with different. There is Shaiving philosophy, there is Advaita Vedanta. You can explore. There is so much beautiful things in Indian culture and Hindu philosophy to explore. Why can't you
and
identify with that?
and there is a rich culture of tolerance of heretics. They have the Charvaka tradition, which we do not
Yes,
have, right?
we do not have a rich culture of debates and discussions and agreement and disagreement. It's a very scientific approach. I find Vedas and Upanishads very scientific texts, to be honest, very philosophical, very canonical. Uh, so you can identify with those texts. I'm not saying you become a Hindu necessarily. That is not required. You can be a practicing Muslim. You offer your namaz. You offer your namaz. You believe in your Allah, your God. That is not a problem. But at a cultural level, at a philosophical, spiritual level, you can identify with the beautiful civilization of your where you are born. What is the
Sure.
problem in that? So I think these two things I am very vehemently pushing. I am not a victim, and I identify with the beautiful civilization of India. And I think these two things, if taken forward, might take us somewhere. This is my solution as I see it. And nationalism is the third thing. You should be nationalist because once you're a nationalist, you are following the constitution. You are under law and order. You're following properly. So I think these things are important, and this is my approach. And I have my fair share of reaction from my own community and from the leftists. So that's what happens. But this is what I
Yeah.
do.
Very refreshing perspective. Very
The
refreshing. I mean, go
heroes
ahead.
for 200 million Indian Muslims should be APJ Abul Kalam, should be Havaldar Abdul Hamid, PVC,
Sure.
should be Hamid Dalwai, right? Not Babur or Aurangzeb. That's the idea. What Umar defined who, an Indian Muslim could be. APJ Abul Kalam, our missile man, he's the best example of it.
Sure. Absolutely. Arif, you've made it your life's mission to talk about Sanatani values. You're deeply connected with it now. Um, your perspective on this, how you've been going about, talking about these issues.
Well, Jay, I would like to, first of all, I agree totally with Omar Bhai, what he said. And I also don't associate myself to Babar or all these. In fact, it was a historical mistake before 700 years back that in Sindh, there was a community, Lohana. And
Hmm.
some of Lohanas accepted Islam because they were businessmen and
Hmm.
they wanted that we don't pay jizya
Hmm.
in court and prashashan in administration. We get favors because Muslim ruler were there.
Hmm.
So they converted to Islam. And
Hmm.
I belong to those Lohanas. And then Gujarat's Muslim Raja invited these Lohanas to come to Gujarat and do business there, and we migrated to. So what made me correct that historical mistake at the age of 60?
Hmm.
I was born in a very practicing Muslim family. I have performed 7 Hajj. I have
Hmm.
performed hundreds of Umrahs. My only brother is in Karachi, office bearer of Tablighi Jamaat. My nephew is Imam of Masjid in Karachi. So, what made me correct this historical mistake? Because I thought that before dying, I should inform the people that my ancestors were wrong and they decided to opt for a wrong direction. And that made me correct the historical mistake. I don't mind if anyone practices in Islam or Judaism or whatever. It is everyone's free choice, and I
Sure.
think that I have also right to choose what I want.
Thank you, Arif bhai. I think it's really very refreshing to hear these perspectives. We Hindus are not really upset with any particular, religious ideology. It's a religious belief, but we get hurt when, our faith is challenged. And when, hurtful things are said about Hindus and Hindu Dharma and so on and so forth. So I just would like to, invite you to, give a message to the Hindu diaspora, particularly Hindu community at large, but Hindu diaspora, because we're a small community. We feel really threatened by views like Mamdani's. So just want to hear some positive words that we can take to heart and say, yes, we have Muslim brothers and sisters who think good of us.
Well, the fact that we've gathered today, this is one optimistic thing. And there are scores and scores like us. Omar can attest to that. It's just that these platforms have been late in coming because, as I said, it's India has been very tolerant. It accepted Muslims as their own despite the partition. Indians do not, Hindu majority Hindus do not want to be seen as communal. So it took time for them to even come up with the courage to say that yes, you have persecuted us. It's been 700, 800 years of invasions and conquests and subjugation, right? So the very fact that we are getting together and Arifji's work and Umar's work and my work, and the fact that you called us, uh, you know, uh, uh, it's proof that progressive Muslims see themselves as part of India's destiny, India's progress, India's future. And hopefully, since India is aiming to be a Vishwaguru, this narrative that is coming up from New York will be debunked, by Indians themselves.
Sure. And I'd like to see 200 million Muslims as part of that, Vishwaguru movement that.
They are absolutely. There's no question about it. They are. It's just that the agenda activists are more vocal now, more louder. Loud noises make. There's a lot of, but the quiet drum of progressive Muslims is there. I mean, I personally can attest to the fact Omer Ghazi has come a long way. He's the beacon for youth. So
Thank you. Omari, you have the floor.
Okay. When you're talking about the Indian diaspora or Hindu diaspora uh, in United States, see people like Zohran Mamdani, when they're talking about Hindus, especially in United States, they are coming from a place of jealousy also. Because if you look at it, Indian Americans are some of the most successful and prosperous people in United States. they're
Sure.
more successful, right? Or in the Silicon Valley, everywhere, from all over, not only Silicon Valley, all over the United States. And people like Zohran Mamdani, they are like parasites because they can't, and their hatred for Jews is also coming from a place of jealousy because
Mm.
handful of Jews are
Yeah.
actually giving a tough battle to, to all the Muslim Arab countries around them. Handful of people, just because they're crazily intelligent, they're hardworking people, they are giving them a tough battle, right? So he's coming from a place of jealousy when he's talking about Hindus, and he is building a narrative of victimhood melodrama for Muslims as well and for poor people as well. That you are poor because it's someone else's fault. Some rich
Mm. Mm.
person, some millionaire there, some billionaire there. So his criticism of Hindus is coming from that same place of jealousy and treachery that he looks at with Jews, and he looks at with the to the rich people, prosperous people, and Indian Americans are actually most prosperous. So instead of learning from them, instead of becoming like them, instead of working hard, going to good universities, doing good research and development, working at NASA, building businesses, you are telling everybody they are prosperous because they have taken your money, basically telling the poor people. So I think that is the crux of the problem with this guy, and
Mm.
so I don't think it should be taken. Uh, he's not coming from a place of authenticity and credibility. He's just blurting out whatever is fed to him from that nexus, from that ideological petri dish of
Mm.
Islamism and Marxism. So we should not take it that way. And I think there's a lot to learn from the Indian Americans and Hindus in the United States. There's a lot to learn from them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Arif Bhai, I'll give you the last word.
My message to Hindu diaspora is that please stop being naive. Please stop being foolishly compromising on everything. Think wisely and decide for your future and your children's future, because we have adopted these places now for to think about these things, that what future you are leaving for your children and the society. So think wisely and stop being naive.
Thank you very much. Thank you, all three of you, for your time. And I know it's a little bit late in Bharat, so special thanks to our two guests from Bharat for staying up late. And I think we had a very enlightening and wonderful conversation. I'd love to do a repeat of this on some other, but similar themes down the road. But again, once again, thank you, namaste, and Shubhratri.